Yeah. What a week. Watching my
You're live.
Well, another fantastic start to Born Again Browns. I'm Garrett.
I'm Tyler.
So another fantastic week in the books. We'll cover a lot of different topics today. But first we want to do a shout out real quick to probably one of our only followers right now. But
Whammo
Justice, who is a follower on our YouTube channel, posted a lot of comments, which we appreciate. Do you want to go into any detail on those?
No, he agreed with us. I mean, we're obviously perfect, so everything we say is right, and if you disagree with us, it's your own fault. So
we appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
I'll be a little more humble.
Okay. Well, I can't be humble, so
Can't fault anyone that agrees with you, right?
nope. That's part of being a Browns fan. If you agree with us, you're probably already down that dark rabbit hole of life.
You guys want to go into news now?
Yeah, I mean,
Free
obviously.
agency news?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into free agency news. We'll go into Joe Thomas news.
Okay.
So, Joe Thomas is no mo.
He hung it up, which you got to thank him for sticking around as long as he did on a team like the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He will be, I don't know, he might go down as the most underappreciated athlete of all time. Because if he was on a decent team, he would have at least maybe gone to the playoffs.
Sadly, yes. I mean, he probably ranks up there with Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson just from a sheer talent point of view, but just never really reaching the promised land.
Yeah. He's a really good guy in general, like to follow on Twitter, to like if you listen to his podcast, the Tomahawk podcast, you can sort of see. But he's a pretty good dude. And then obviously the news this week was that we signed 7 big veteran players. And we got defensive back help, we got offensive line help, which we obviously need now.
Yep.
And then we got a running back.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mixed feelings about that signing with Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we dive into first the DB depth? So we did end up shipping McCourty to the Pats.
I know, which was really funny because we said we were releasing him. And then the Pats were like, oh no, we're so far down the waiver wire, we got to get him now.
Well, I don't know if he quite panned out as well as we hoped for with the Browns. He is getting up there in years. So,
Yeah. And he gets to go play with his twin brother, so it's obviously a plus. And I think the Patriots, as the Patriots always do, they'll find something to drain out of that towel no matter what.
Yeah.
There'll be something that they'll get out of him, even if it's a special teams play or, and we'll be like, well, he was a Brown, what the heck? But I think he'll be pretty good there. I'm not worried. But I liked Terrence Mitchell. I thought that was a good signing. He's an ex-Chief now. They're saying that Mitchell and Randall combined for more interceptions last year than the entire Browns team.
And that's not a bad thing when you bring both those people in. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Well, it's cool too because we're moving Randall to free safety, which is his natural position. It's what he should have been probably playing, and that really gives us, if we do go after Minka, that pretty much solidifies Minka as just a jack of all trade. Like we're going out, and I feel like we're getting like utility defensive backs, which I want to say TJ Carey is exclusively a slot corner. So obviously that's almost a necessity now. I mean, think about who we got in a trade. We got Jarvis Landry, the best slot receiver in all of football, right? Mm-hmm. So he's going to have someone that he's going to go up against that will really challenge him and hopefully make him better. And then obviously we got a blocking tight end, which I've been talking about, Njoku. Hopefully Darren Fells will help Njoku go to that next level.
Mm-hmm. I just hope we don't get into a situation where when Fells is on the field, we're going to run. When Njoku's out there, we're going to pass. But
and the only way you can really get away from that is Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde is not past his prime per se, but he's definitely aging out. It's going to be, running backs have this weird tendency of they're good, they're terrible. Like there's this weird curve of drop off that just seems to happen. And I think our offensive line, Hubbard, I really liked Hubbard's signing.
That was probably my favorite out of that list there. I think Hubbard can really help us because not only are you bringing in more offensive line talent and we just had one retire, but you're taking one away from a division rival.
Yeah, and he can play guard and tackle. So the fact that he, can play guard and tackle, if we lose someone during the season, I'm not, as worried as maybe a team like the Seattle Seahawks, who I follow, where they don't have anybody that can do that. And the people they think they can do that just make Russell Wilson run around with his head cut off. We can talk a little bit, when I'm looking at the overall free agency news, some of the other things that stood out, obviously Tyrann Mathieu signed yesterday with the Texans, or Friday night with the Texans. So that makes them a little bit better. They still don't really have any, I would say, besides J.J. Watt, I don't really, their linebackers are okay, but they all come off of injury. So, Matthew's had problems with his legs. He's not as young as he was, obviously. We all get that way. And, I don't know. It paid him 1-year deal. I was sort of looking forward. I think if we hadn't traded for Randall, I think maybe we would have been more aggressive with the Tyrann Mathieu move. But I just also think he's too expensive for what you get now.
So, and that kind of leads me to an interesting question, being aggressive or not being aggressive. How do you feel about kind of missing out on the big name corners in free agency? Because the Browns really did not bring anybody big in. Not to take away from the people we did in, because we added depth. And I think that really, in a position of need, is a good start.
Yeah. I don't mind missing on big names, because the way that I look at it, and we talked about chicken or the egg last week. Do you cover or do you rush, right? Like, what are you going to do? And I think there's only one big name that I want us to sign, and I don't think he'll sign with us, and that's Donkey Kong Suh. Like, if we got him, he changes the entire defense. Like, there's very few players like that. If we got Malcolm Butler, would that have changed our defense? Like, would that have changed it?
I don't think it would.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that big impact.
And it's
no.
like, okay, well, big names. Like, I think big names like J.J. Watt. Like, if you got J.J. Watt, all of a sudden your defense is way different. You get, Ndamukong Suh. Like, man, that would change our entire front. And then, when you really look at what else would it do, all of a sudden Garrett can't get doubled. So, and if they do double, it's going to be a tight end chipping, and you create this whole, other dynamic. I'm not saying that Danny was not great in the middle. I'm not saying that at all, but Ndamukong Suh, watch his highlights. I mean, he's taking 2 or 3 people on at once and pushing them backwards.
You're also, if I'm remembering correctly, you had Danny being more of a nose tackle than really a defensive tackle. And so playing a 4-3 system with a nose tackle as a defensive tackle really is just not a good fit.
Yeah. And I think he was more positioned to be a run stopper versus a disruptor. And that's, Ndamukong is set up to literally push an entire line back, and you see it all the time. Like, Miami's next best player on their line is Cameron Wake, who's 35, and he's an old guy that still pretty good, but he's not Myles Garrett. Like, you could look at the tape and say that. So I'm really hopeful that somehow, some way, stars align and we would be able to get him. I just don't think that's going to happen. That being said, we got more than 3. Are you ready for your cinnamon shot?
I guess I can do this. Oh,
We did get a board. It's just not ready to be put up yet.
that's fine. So
for clarification, Garrett lost the bet last week. What was the
the bet was we set a line at 3 moves in free agency. I took the under. Tyler took the over.
So how many moves at free agency were there total?
7 additions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, and then if you count McCourty, that's 8. If I have subtraction. So
The lovely bottle of Hot 100 cinnamon liqueur right behind Garrett's right shoulder.
So hopefully this is not a losing
now.
streak. Hopefully the Browns rebound this year. So I don't want to be 0-16.
Cheers.
I don't want 16 of these.
Chin chin.
Cheers.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
It's like the...
It's like,
Huh.
Good now.
Producers pressing buttons like
Oh,
cameras.
Oh, it just shut off.
All right, let's talk a little
Did it
bit.
turn back on?
It like took a picture.
Let's
Oh,
talk.
okay.
I pushed the live view button.
Let's talk a little bit about the. So there's obviously the free agency news, but let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday and the obvious thing is Michigan won with a buzzer beater.
Okay, we're switching to basketball.
Basketball news?
No.
You really want to get into March Madness?
God,
No.
March Madness is the worst.
Not just draft news.
Let's
The
move on.
Jets
sport
traded.
at a
Yes.
The Jets traded up with the Colts, pretty much solidifying that 2 quarterbacks now. I would assume the Browns and the Jets now are drafting quarterbacks. The question that I have is regarding this whole movement that's happening. Do the Giants have to take a quarterback now? Are they pigeonholed? Because if they don't, they're not going to get one. They're not going to get one this entire draft unless they trade up again.
I don't, I was looking at that earlier. Eli is still serviceable, I believe. He is not serviceable, not great, serviceable. Let's make clarification
It's
here.
Like a used car?
No, like a
He will get you from point A to point B, yes.
He's more like a used tissue. Like if I have to blow my nose in this again, I will. But it's not a long-term solution.
Okay, back on track. Yeah, Eli is not a long-term solution. But they do have Davis Webb, who they don't know a lot about, who they thought highly enough to draft last year. So I think that the Giants will pass on a quarterback just for simple fact of needs. And I think I see them more taking either a Saquon Barkley or a Chubb to kind of shore up that defense.
Oh, a little Chubb, huh? Here's the thing. When I saw this trade go down, first I thought, wow, the Jets gave up a lot. Then I started to realize that
Some extra noises going on.
there's a lot of hardware going outside. I realized that the Jets probably didn't really give up that much considering how much the Rams moved up previously, how much the Eagles had moved up, how much they had to give up to move up. So when I look at the Jets giving up a 1 and a 3 and a 4 or whatever, I think they gave up 4 picks this year and nothing next year. I don't really think they gave up that much. The thing that surprised me is, they still have Josh McCown, who's serviceable. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who's serviceable. So
Is any quarterback now in the NFL just going to be serviceable?
Serviceable.
I view it. Bridgewater is more than serviceable. I think that really we have to see how he comes back from his knee injury to really, before we really pigeonhole him in anywhere, see what he's like.
I think that, and this is speculative, and let's just go, let's think about this from historical perspective. I don't know if he'll ever get a chance to really play again, because I almost feel like NFL mindsets are going to be like, oh, he's just, he'll get us through a game or two, but I don't know if he'll ever take the starting role again. Because when I look at him, if he had gone to a team that fit his style, and maybe his style isn't his style anymore, right? Because he had a big knee injury. But the Jets, they suck. No, we suck, but they are not that good. And he went to a team for low money, $3 million or whatever. And then, now they're probably drafting a quarterback. So it's almost like he put himself in a position of I'm going to take my money. Maybe I'll have to play a game or two. I'm going to try to start. But what it comes down to when I look at this is we have to trade for. We have to. We're going to have the Bills probably offering up the farm. The Dolphins are probably going to trade. Because if the Dolphins don't move up, they're not going to get a quarterback. The Dolphins are at 15, I think. And Denver behind us is probably going to take a quarterback. They say, we got our guy in Case Keenum. Your guy is Kirk Cousins. You still want to pay him. And so we take... Number one, we take Darnold, let's just say, because it's what everyone's saying. As long as it's not Josh Allen, I'm okay with it now. Number two, the Giants take Barkley, we'll say. Okay. Number three, the Jets take Rosen, which I'd say is probably a safe pick. Number four, if the Bills want Josh Allen or Mayfield, they have to move up. And Miami apparently is in love with Mayfield. So if Miami wants a quarterback at all from 15, they have to move up. And that leads the first 4 picks in the draft are 3 quarterbacks and a running back, which would be shocking to me. So that's why I think the Giants probably move back a little bit, even if it's with Denver.
I have a hard time. I guess I don't know what it would take to get one of those first 4 picks now. We all know that the 3rd pick's not going to be probably traded again. But I just feel like the Jets set the precedent to move into that top 5 slot is going to cost a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think the Bills... the Bills have nothing. So they got A.J. McCarron because Hugh Jackson, the obvious genius of talent that he is, told them he's good. And so the Bills were like, okay, we'll pick up A.J. McCarron. Also, he's the last one remaining.
So, okay, you as a Browns GM, let's put on our John Dorsey hat here.
Give me all 3 of your first-round picks, Buffalo, and you can have my 4. That's all.
I
12.
thought about being the Browns GM before because that was really fast.
Well, yeah, because it's the obvious move is you don't trade now. We don't trade now. We trade on draft day. You never, like, the Jets got so much. The Jets screwed over. Like, if you think the Colts won that trade, that's fine. But the Jets won that trade because they traded before it really was going to set in for them for pressure, right? And they didn't move up very far. They moved up, what were they, 6 to 3?
Three
They
spots.
didn't move up that far. But moving from 12 to 4, it's 8 spots.
See, I would be probably content taking their first 2-round picks for the 4th.
Well, they have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, the 2 that are together. What is it, 12 and 13, or
No, 12 is the pick they got from whoever it was, Cincinnati or somebody, and then 21-22 I think is their pick. Because remember, they made the playoffs for the first time since Jim Kelly, and then they didn't like Tyrod Taylor anymore because he was too good. So we got Tyrod.
I'd be comfortable with taking one of those 2 that is together in that 12.
Yeah. I think we would just sell it. You say, hey, give me the farm. And see who's there. If it's a quarterback they like let's say it is Josh Allen, and you know that they like the tall, I don't want to say intercept-prone quarterback, but they like the taller quarterback, the more prototypical style, then you say, okay, well, I mean, you get Josh Allen, you get your guy right now. Or we don't draft a quarterback at 1 for some reason, and we move out of 1. I don't know. But I think there is some good potential there. I think the Jets, I don't know why the Colts trade now. That was the whole thing that I get confused with. The draft's April 26th. You have a month plus. You didn't gain anything except for the ability to really plan out your draft a little bit further. But what you did also do is probably not get as much as you could have. Because now imagine the Jets aren't there. The 3rd pick comes up, and the Bills are like, okay, well, the first pick was Darnold. The Giants, for some reason, took Rosen. Now I really want Allen, and the only way I can do this is if you're the Bills, you have to give up all 3 picks almost at that point. Mm-hmm. So did the Colts really screw themselves there? Regarding that was really all the draft news that I found.
Okay.
In terms of what game are we playing this week, Producy?
This week we're gonna play Would You Rather.
Whoa.
So we've got 3 questions set up. We'll start with number 1. For both of you, would you rather pay Ndamukong Suh the big money for a short-term deal or draft someone else?
So obviously draft an interior lineman.
Okay. Yeah. Someone else is
What?
very good.
Draft someone.
Hey, we'll write better
That's not
questions,
the
producers.
question.
Okay. We'll fill in the blanks here. I think the question really boils down: do you pay Sue the big money, or do you draft a lineman in the draft to fill that need? I would say draft a lineman. I'm not a big fan of Sue. I know he has raw talent, but he also has a lot of baggage with him, and I feel like bringing somebody in young would be better.
That's his Iowa Hawkeye roots right
shaker.
there.
That's a head shaker.
Yeah, that is a prototypical Iowa fan in his
Hey,
finest
it's
moment
not my
in life.
fault that Sue thought quarterbacks were twist off and not pop off heads.
Hey, the one thing that I always think about is money is just money, and when you have you have a surplus of it, you don't get to stockpile it up year over year over year and it's not like AT&T rollover minutes. You don't get to just we saved $60 million, we get that extra $60 million next year. No, you get that money because you didn't sign someone to a long-term deal to eat into that cap space. It's not like you get an extra $60 million. So, and I think with what we've done already, spending the money now would push us to push teams out in the AFC North. I almost said NFC North because
You keep doing that.
but if we don't sign, so let's think of the draft picks, right? The draft picks that I think of, none of them would come in and make the entire defensive line better. So none of them would change the landscape of our front. Sue does immediately. And spending some money, 2-year, 3-year deal, give him $20 million a year because he's not going to get 26, and just try to push now. I mean, you're already doing it. You're already trying to push now, right? So, what's
Next question. Would you rather trade out of the number 4 pick with the Bills or draft Barkley?
So if Barkley's there, I'm assuming the question is first 3 picks or quarterbacks.
You're assuming you wrote the question. I didn't write the question.
Wow, that's a fine.
You
Stu
know what the question
Gatz
means.
Jr. over there. That's a
Okay.
fine blaming other people.
For the sake of this argument, Barkley's there at 4. I take Barkley.
Yeah. I think, and I have transitioned a lot, and it's primarily because, we have coughers in our crowd here today, but Barkley, there was a stat that came out that said he had played in, I can't remember, I'm going to butcher it. Anyways, it was 23 of his collegiate games, he never reached 100 yards total. So that's it's receiving, rushing, everything. I think he played 41 or something. So it was roughly 60% of all the games that he played in college. That's how the breakdown was. He did not reach 100 yards of total yards of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And when I think of Carlos Hyde and I think of Duke Johnson, I think we're okay. And I think we're okay if we trade out of 4 and we get Buffalo to give us everything. I think the trade has to be smart, right? We can't just be like, oh, we're trading out of 4 and we got like a 3rd round pick. Like, no, obviously we're not going to do that. But if we got the 12th pick, the 21st, and the 22nd pick, I would take that all day long. I don't care. At that point, I don't care about Barkley. Because I'm going to get, Sonny Michel in the 2nd round or my last pick of the 1st. Yeah. Right? So with that being said, I think we're okay there. I love Barkley. And I've, obviously we watched him a lot this year in the Big Ten, and I think he's great. I also just don't think, I think John Dorsey got lucky / talented draft insight last year to get the running back for Kansas City that they got, and I feel like his hubris will say that he can do that again. And this is a deep running back class. Now, if it were maybe Chubb. Maybe, because then our edges. I know you like what's his name, Ugba.
Yeah,
Ugba. I know you like him, but if you have Chubb running on one side and you have Garrett on the other side, it's a pretty good pincer attack, and then just draft from there. I know the 3rd question is a little bit weirdly written.
What? Like I can't read it?
I don't know.
Let's just try reading it and see where we go here.
Would you rather trade an 8-8 season next year if it meant drafting Darnold at number 1?
I'm gonna say no. I'm not a big fan of Darnold. Okay. I really am not. I do not think he's who we need. I would rather pass on Darnold and have a sub 500 season this year. I'd rather pass on a quarterback in general. I think really this class, as much raw talent as they have, they also seem to have a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I would, when I wrote this question, I was thinking more or less Tyrod gets hurt and Darnold has to go in as, the quarterback we draft at 1 would have to play at that point. And that's what we were trading. We're trading a 500 season for spending our 1st round pick on a potential quote unquote franchise quarterback, which I really dislike the term franchise quarterback because how many quarterbacks in the league right now would you say are franchise quarterbacks? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, TBD. Those are 3 where you associate their head to that logo. That's what a franchise quarterback is to me. Jimmy Garoppolo could be that for the 49ers.
I think Carr is getting there with Oakland.
Yeah, and that's
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson in Seattle. Feel like Kirk Cousins to me, and this is not to go off on a tangent, he's not a franchise quarterback to me. So when he gets paid $84 million guaranteed, I look at the quarterback class right now and I think, is there anyone in there that's going to produce how the NFL perceives production? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Darnold to me, as it gets closer and closer to the draft, I'm sure our opinions will change a little bit and we'll mold into what we really think should happen. But right now, I honestly would take Rosen, and then if the Jets really wanted him, I'd trade. You know what I mean? I would do what the Chargers and the Giants did, with Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, right? And when I trade them, I'm going to get, not only am I going to get probably the quarterback I wanted at 3, which if it's Darnold or Allen or Mayfield, whoever they wanted, I'm also going to get something else in return. I'm going to get another pick, right? So I think that's probably more the route that I would go. I would trade an 8-8 season because I think that the AFC North is, I don't know, again, I don't know how long the Steelers can sustain it. I really don't. I don't know how long the Steelers can just fight off time.
And I look at it as you were 0-16 last year. Any number of wins is an improvement. So I think
Nate's a 50% increase right there.
Well, yeah, well, exactly.
I mean, I think it's an 800% increase, right? Because you went from 0 to 8.
Okay.
Either way, you are definitely riding the ship. But I think even like a 5-win season is riding the ship in the Browns' opinion at this point in time, because really, you're starting from almost expansion team level at this point.
Yeah, I like our chances next year. The one big question that I keep finding myself running into is how long can Tyrod stay up? You know, if Joe Thomas had been there, I probably would have trusted his health a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And that's not taking away from, you know, but the left tackle that's going to be replacing him. It's not taking away from him at all. It's just Joe Thomas is one of the best ever to play, right? So
I don't disagree.
And Tyrod, he's had health issues. He's had concussion issues. He runs out of the pocket. He's squirrely. He's evasive to the point of being evasive as he can be. But, you know, we have great weapons around him. If we put in Baker Mayfield because, you know, he goes out in a game, I would feel more comfortable putting in Baker Mayfield than I would Sam Darnold. And it's a lot to do with accuracy. It's a lot to do with how competent he'll read a defense. And it also has to do with the last thing, which is, can he get out of the pocket and move? And when he moves, how accurate is he? That's the one thing when you watch Baker Mayfield's pro day, if you ever get a chance to, he is deadly accurate running and throwing back against his body, which is very odd. It's like a very awkward technique to make.
I don't think it's recommended.
Yeah, but he is like he's almost more precise doing that than like in the pocket looking around and throwing. He's like, I gotta throw against my body that way, and it's like a BB right to the perfect spot. And you're like, okay, well Tyrod can do that. So
I don't know. I'm still not sold on that being a good thing. Do we have any other questions, producer?
No, it's all.
All right.
Okay, well, obviously follow us on Twitch. We're still working out the kinks with our video setup and everything.
We're improving every week, so I think that's good. So
50% improvement.
Shut up.
Anyway, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We look forward to hearing from you next week. And
Twitter, Born Browns,
YouTube.
Twitch. Yeah, everywhere. I mean, we're everywhere.
Please ask us your questions, Whammo. We're probably going to hear from you shortly, I'm guessing. So
hopefully.
Have a good week.
Yeah, cool. Rock on.
Thanks, guys.
Producer has to get left.